In the realm of metaphysics and philosophy, there is a growing school of thought suggesting that our reality, our personal life trajectory, unfolds along a series of possible timelines. Each timeline contains unique events, outcomes, and possibilities for growth, learning, and self-discovery. If we imagine reality as a quantum tapestry, then our consciousness is the needle that weaves through its infinite threads, selecting which path becomes manifest in our lived experience. To shift timelines, one must first recognize that the nature of reality is far more malleable than conventional, materialist perspectives might suggest. In the Western philosophical tradition, many individuals have been heavily influenced by Cartesian dualism, which asserts a strict division between mind and matter. More contemporary viewpoints, such as those inspired by quantum mechanics and even mystical traditions, encourage us to see consciousness as an integral aspect of the fabric of reality itself. The idea is that our inner state, the emotions, beliefs, thoughts, and intentions we carry, can act as a kind of tuning fork, resonating with different possible futures. The importance of state of being. Your state of being can be understood as a fusion of your emotional baseline, your thought patterns, and your sense of self. It is the quality of awareness that you bring into each moment. When philosophers discuss the nature of consciousness, they often explore how perception shapes reality. From a more mystical angle, this might be understood to mean that our innermost vibration, our frequency, attracts the experiences that align with it. While the language here is metaphorical, the deeper message is that our consistent internal environment influences the reality we observe and the events that manifest. For instance, consider the simple act of carrying persistent anger or resentment. If your state of being is dominated by these emotions, you'll notice how your daily experiences often reinforce that sense of discontent. You might find yourself in recurring conflicts or noticing the negative aspects of any given situation. Shifting timelines means stepping out of that reinforced loop and entering a new pattern of experience, one that arises from a different internal state, such as peace, gratitude, or joy. By consciously choosing a new emotional and mental baseline, you begin to tune into new probabilities. Philosophical underpinnings. To understand how timeline shifting might work, we can reflect on two philosophical cornerstones. Idealism. Certain strands of Western philosophy, represented by thinkers like George Berkeley, assert that reality is fundamentally mental or experiential. In these systems, consciousness is central, and the material world is seen as derivative or secondary. If we accept that consciousness, or mind, plays a primary role, it becomes easier to see how a shift in awareness might precipitate external changes. Hermeticism and esotericism. In esoteric traditions, the principle of as above, so below, as within, so without suggests a direct correlation between our internal states and external reality. Hermetic philosophers viewed the cosmos as a grand mind, with each individual consciousness being a microcosm of the greater whole. From this perspective, shifting one's state of consciousness indeed shifts the outward manifestations in one's life. These philosophical traditions provide a conceptual foundation for the metaphysical practice of timeline shifting. They give credence to the notion that our reality is not just a static physical realm, but a fluid interplay between inner and outer worlds. Practical steps to shift timelines, awareness, and clarity. The first step involves becoming intimately aware of your current state of being. How do you typically feel on a day-to-day basis? What beliefs are you holding about yourself, others, and the nature of reality? Journal regularly, record your emotions, and note the recurring themes in your life. Self-awareness is the critical foundation. Without it, any attempt to shift timelines becomes guesswork, as you haven't identified the baseline you're trying to shift from. Intentional visualization. Visualizing a preferred timeline is a practice that harnesses both imagination and emotional resonance. Close your eyes and allow yourself to relax deeply. Envision a future scene that embodies the life you wish to experience. Tune in to the feelings, the sights, the sounds, the subtle nuances of what it would be like to actually live that reality. The emotional charge you generate is your key. This is what resonates with the potential timeline, encouraging it to unfold. Embodying the shift. Words and images alone are not enough to affect real change. You must be the version of yourself who already inhabits that new timeline. That means adopting the attitudes, emotional tones, and thought patterns you associate with the future you. This may involve daily affirmations, mindfulness practices, or even adjusting your routine to reflect your new priorities. For example, if your desired timeline involves increased creativity, begin acting like a creative individual right now. Integrate painting sessions, creative writing, or musical practice into your schedule. By performing these behaviors consistently, you shift your baseline state of being. Letting go of resistance. A major hurdle in shifting timelines lies in the remnants of doubt, fear, and limiting beliefs. Metaphysically speaking, these act as anchors that keep you locked in your current reality pattern. Cultivate a sense of surrender. Trust that the universe, or however you conceptualize the greater reality, supports your transformation. This is not about denying challenges or pretending negative emotions don't exist, but rather acknowledging them with compassion and allowing them to dissolve naturally. A helpful technique is to remain aware of when these negative patterns arise and gently redirect your focus to the new state of being you're cultivating. Consistency and patience. Shifting timelines can happen instantaneously in some cases, especially if you experience a profound realization or revelation. However, for most of us, these shifts occur gradually as we reinforce new patterns in our consciousness. Consistency and practice, be it meditation, self-inquiry, emotional regulation, or visualization, gradually realigns your reality. Patience is key. Attempting to force rapid change can create paradoxical resistance, slowing the process. Metaphysical ethics and considerations. Philosophically, one might ask about the ethical implications of timeline shifting. If every possible reality exists, does our shift affect other people in unintended ways? One perspective suggests that each individual's consciousness selects or navigates into a parallel dimension that resonates with their frequency, so to speak. Thus, you're not forcing others to experience your new timeline. You're simply migrating to an already existing timeline where different outcomes manifest and where those around you may also reflect the new, harmonious conditions you desire. Furthermore, it's essential to align your intentions with the highest good, both for yourself and others. Shifting timelines in service of egoic desires that might harm or exploit others can create internal conflict and hinder the desired shift. Approaching the practice with gratitude, compassion, and reverence for life fosters a more coherent and stable transition. Resistance and the ego. A critical aspect of this process is dealing with the ego, that aspect of the mind concerned with identity, separation, and survival. The ego often clings to familiar narratives, even painful or limiting ones, because they offer a sense of predictability. Shifting to a new timeline means letting go of old stories about who you are and what the world is. This can be disconcerting. Techniques such as mindful meditation, shadow work, and self-inquiry can help you become aware of egoic attachments and gently loosen their hold. When old feelings, doubts, or insecurities resurface, see them as signposts guiding you to deeper layers of self-awareness. Each doubt you transcend is like a weight lifted, freeing you to move fluidly into the reality you prefer. Overcoming these resistances can feel like emotional or psychological growing pains, but on the other side awaits a greater sense of liberation and possibility. Case study and personal reflection. Consider someone who frequently struggles with scarcity. Their experience is consistently one of lack, financially, emotionally, or spiritually. Every aspect of their life seems to mirror a sense of not enough. Such an individual can begin to shift timelines by focusing on an internal state of abundance. They practice gratitude for small things in their life, they visualize a future in which their needs are met, and they align their daily actions with generosity and openness. Over time, they might notice opportunities arising, new jobs, supportive relationships, or unexpected gifts. From a metaphysical perspective, they have tuned their frequency to abundance, creating a resonance with a timeline in which abundance is part of their lived reality. Philosophical skepticism. It's worth noting that not everyone agrees with the notion of shifting timelines. Materialist thinkers might argue that reality is singular and fixed, and that changing one's mindset simply changes subjective experience, not objective reality. Yet, even if we approach this from a purely psychological angle, adopting a new state of being can have profound and quantifiable effects on our behavior, our health, and our relational dynamics. From this viewpoint, shifting timelines is a poetic way of describing the transformation of our personal experiences through intentional psychological change. However, for those inclined toward a more expansive metaphysical perspective, this process can be understood as literal navigation across parallel realities. In many wisdom traditions, including Eastern philosophies, the interplay between mind, energy, and reality is well documented. For instance, in Tibetan Buddhism, the practice of lojong, or mind training, involves deliberately cultivating wholesome mental states to alter one's experience of reality. Similarly, in Advaita Vedanta, the ultimate teaching suggests that everything is Brahman, an indivisible oneness in which distinct timelines or realities might be part of an infinite cosmic play, Leela. Recognizing this unity can liberate the practitioner from the illusion of being stuck in any one life narrative, opening up the possibility of fluid movement across different modes of existence. As we synthesize these perspectives, we see that the principle remains the same. Change your inner state, and your outer reality changes accordingly. Whether we view this through a lens of strict mind-over-matter metaphysics or as a profound psychological reorientation, the result is often transformative. When you cultivate an elevated state of being, one characterized by love, creativity, confidence, and trust, your life circumstances begin to reflect that shift, almost as though you've stepped into a new dimension of possibilities. Daily integration. So how do we integrate these principles into our daily lives in a sustained manner? Morning ritual. Upon waking, spend a few minutes setting the tone for your day. Visualize yourself moving through your routine with grace, positivity, and purpose. Feel the sense of gratitude for the day ahead. Mindful check-ins. Periodically throughout the day, pause and check in with your emotional and mental state. Are you aligned with the timeline you're consciously choosing, or have you drifted back into old patterns? No judgment, just gently guide yourself back to your preferred state. Evening reflection. Before bed, reflect on the day's experiences. Acknowledge moments that resonated with your desired timeline and observe any areas where old habits re-emerged. This reflection sets the stage for continued growth. Emotional alchemy. Practice techniques that help you transmute challenging emotions, breathwork, meditation, or creative expression. By learning to navigate and transform negative states, you maintain alignment with the timeline you wish to inhabit. Closing thoughts. Shifting timelines. By changing your state of being is, at its core, a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. It invites you to step beyond the limited static view of a single predetermined reality and into a universe teeming with infinite possibilities. You become an active co-creator of your experience, guided by your internal compass and buoyed by the recognition that consciousness is not merely a byproduct of matter, but a fundamental force capable of shaping reality. From a philosophical standpoint, this viewpoint aligns with traditions that place consciousness at the heart of existence, be it in idealist frameworks, mystical teachings, or even the hints provided by quantum theory. Whether you interpret timeline shifting as literal metaphysical navigation or as a profound psychological repatterning, the result is the same: a liberation from old, confining narratives and the birth of a new, more expansive way of being. So, fellow traveler, on the path of awareness, remember that the key to unlocking a new timeline lies within you: your beliefs, your emotions, your unwavering intention, and your capacity to inhabit a greater vision of life. May this journey lead you to places of wonder, growth, and the realization that you are so much more powerful than you once believed. Embrace the process, trust in your capacity to evolve, and watch as you glide into the timeline where your highest aspirations become your living truth.